Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh,
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny. Going out for tapas because you like making dirty dishes. This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. Hi, Trevin.
Hello, it has been so long.
I know. Our listeners are like, we just heard you last week, but I have been on vacation, so I've missed him, you guys. It's been a minute.
I've missed you too. And you know what else?
What?
Well, you were gone. Summer movies officially came back to the theaters.
Boy, do I know it.
Barbenheimer weekend is upon us. This is going to be about a week late, but because of the busy way that my life goes, I was unable to see them in one sitting like I wanted to, or in one weekend. I saw Barbie on Sunday, and once you and I get done recording, I will be seeing Oppenheimer.
You're going to have to let me know. So I don't know much about this whole thing about them going together, I guess. Just because they're like the top movies and they're so opposite.
Well, they're both really big movies, and
Okay.
It's really weird because they're not made by the same people. There's so many other Fridays in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you choose to have stacked those on the same day? And so people made a lot of jokes about that, and that's why they kind of combined them. But also, I don't know if you know that much about Barbie.
No, I've seen the trailers. It looks fun, but no, I don't even know like what the storyline is or anything.
This movie, because I already knew what to expect because I followed the movie stuff, and it's made by Greta Gerwig, which is the woman who did Lady Bird
Okay.
and Little Women. And so she does more artsy stuff about, growing up as a woman and stuff like that. So everybody knew from the start that she was going to take Barbie and try to do like a big artistic spin and try to like have an agenda with it. So the art movie crowd was already just like, I know how silly it sounds, but I can't wait to see Barbie because I just want to see what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, you'd think that the artsy crowd would be more into Oppenheimer, but they're actually more into Barbie because they know what she's going to try to do with it. They also are excited for Oppenheimer too. So it's really funny that both of these movies, although they look completely different, are still kind of aiming for the same crowd.
Yeah, it is interesting because when I was talking to my family about it, we went and saw a movie too, but it was Elemental, like I told you, with my kiddo. But when I was talking to them about those others, I would see either and be thrilled about it. So it is funny that they're so opposite, but I'm into both types of movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you will love Barbie. I think it has what it takes to be like your favorite movie.
Really?
This movie, and I'm not going to spoil too much for everybody, but I just really want to talk about this in case any of you guys didn't know this, because the realization hit me while I was at the theater. I had an older like grandmother sitting next to me with a like 13, 14-year-old daughter seeing this movie. And this movie is all about growing up as a woman in the United States and just like how women don't have anything.
Yeah.
And like that message is told so well through the usage of Barbie Land and Barbies and the real world.
Ooh, love that. Okay.
This is a movie that absolutely has an agenda, like for sure.
Yeah.
And there's a couple parts where it starts to break in the beginning where it's not only just perfect Barbie Land, there's real world issues. And she starts being like, oh, does anybody else think about death? Everybody's like, wait, what? And she said it, and I heard the grandmother next to me be like, huh? But then she brings up the death thing again. I heard two parents both be like, death? Why is she bringing up death? They're just so confused. And then I can't even imagine where they must have been for the rest of the movie, because once the movie started rolling, everything's too loud to really hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I think they were very caught off guard, and they probably were just not all that in their kids' lives. And we're just like, oh, it's a Barbie movie. She's a girl. She's going to love Barbie. And then she takes him to him. And it's almost like a Trojan horse because you get those adults to bring the young kids in. And then you're just like, boom, here's a really powerful women feminist story. And I'm sure some parents were like, I did not mean to give my daughter this message yet.
Oh, really?
Probably.
About like how hard it is to be a woman, kind of?
Yeah, especially if, let's say, maybe your political leanings would say that women have it just fine around here.
Okay.
Then you would probably say...
The people who are mad about the Red Panda movie.
Yeah, those kind of people. Okay, if they thought the Red Panda movie had an agenda, if they accidentally let their kids see this, they'd probably just throw the kid out and get a new one. That's just how much of an agenda this movie has.
I gotta watch it then.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I love that. Okay.
Also, I cried twice.
No way! And you're not a big crier.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't sob, but I had 2 different times where I had a long stream.
Oh my God.
Just hanging there.
Trevin. Well, I am a big crier, and I also did cry at the movie Elemental, and it had a deep message, too, about being an immigrant family. I went on and on about that movie. I recommend that one. That one was beautiful, fun, and had a deep, amazing message to it, too. So lots of good options out there for all you movie fans.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't watched a movie yet this summer, do yourself a favor and just see one.
Oh my God. I know I have been itching to get back into the theater. And now that I'm taking my kid to the theater for the first time, I'm loving it. It's expensive, but I love it. So, Trevin.
Yes.
On top of the Barbie land, do you have any dreadful dilemmas this week?
I do have a dreadful dilemma. And it has to do with something I've been talking about in therapy. I'm way overdue to give you guys a really big mental health update. It's not going to be this week, but if you really don't want me to, maybe tell me soon and I won't do it. I saw my dietitian, food therapist, and now I'm also seeing a regular therapist that just deals with body image stuff, which that's more of what my issue is, I'm finding.
Okay.
It's more of the mental stuff that goes along with it. The dietitian, I probably won't see her as much because I don't need her as much.
Yeah.
But she had brought up something really interesting. And when I first sat in there, this was before I had done a whole lot of the mental work because I could only see the dietitian first. And I was just kind of word vomiting all this stuff. Like, what's wrong with me? What could be my issue? Why do I never blah, blah, blah. She started asking me kind of questions. And I had pretty much just kind of stopped and looked at her and been like, just fix me, basically. And she looked at me and said, you're just wanting me to tell you everything that you need to do, aren't you? And I was like, absolutely. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of my issues come from with my body image stuff is I was raised around diet culture a lot. And so diet culture type stuff will always be like, there's only one way to do it and everything you're doing is wrong and this is the right way to do it. So I'm always kind of used to just handing the wheel over to somebody to tell me what to do. So I felt that if I was paying somebody a lot more money per hour to talk to me, that is going to give me some sort of a different level of thing to follow, because
a new set of rules.
New set of rules, but it's a more prestige level rules because it's expensive. And then she's like, no, that's not what we're going to do here. And it kind of hit me. I was like, oh, that's a problem. But then that made me think about something else. I know you are a big consumer of true crime podcasts, cult documentaries.
Yes.
So when you watch these movies about cults, I know it's always kind of people's first thought to be like, oh, these people must not be very smart. It's really obvious that this dude's a creeper.
I would never do that.
Yeah.
That kind of attitude.
In that setting right there, when I was talking to that therapist, it hit me. I think I am susceptible to being in a cult because they always say it's the smart people that find their ways in the cults. I think in a lot of things in this world, we choose not to see other people's sides of things or put ourselves in other people's shoes. And sometimes people's shoes are just so out there that you could never imagine it.
Right.
Like when the Titanic submarine thing happened, Emily's like, oh, I just put myself in their position. It makes me seem so scared. I'm like, I could never imagine myself having so much money. I put myself in a submarine down there.
Right.
I just can't connect to it. For the first time, this interaction between me and her hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm one of the smart people that would be susceptible to a cult because I so badly just want that one thing. And if somebody just came in that had enough proof, that had enough of the right words I needed to hear. And if they put a little bit of, like I said, this like level of prestige to it, if somebody was selling exactly what I had in my mind, I would probably do it.
Oh, yeah. My husband, Jordan, is definitely the guy. Oh, I would never do that. They wouldn't fool me. You know, I got all these street smarts. Like, I wouldn't fall for that, you know, whatever. I have always, and I stand firm in this, I think anyone could be in a cult because there are so many different types and everyone is motivated by something and everyone wants answers to something. So, yeah, I'm sure, you know, maybe some cults wouldn't intrigue you at all, but others definitely would. We love Sounds Like a Cult, right? The podcast. They are the perfect example that anything really can be culty. Of course, they kind of take it in a funny route, but yeah, anyone can be in one, guys. I don't know where we got the idea that we're all too cool for school, but anyone could fall susceptible. That's just how it is.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, yeah, we're good at admitting that we're flawed people, but I would never make a stupid mistake, though. Come on, people. We all make stupid mistakes all the time.
Do.
And I think that if I wasn't paying attention and I was in a low enough point, I could find myself in a cult.
Thank you for admitting that, Trevin. That is great. That's just the truth of it. I think anyone could.
I can't think of anybody who's just straight up come out and said that because everybody puts such a bad way of looking at that. They're just like, oh, dumb people get caught up in that. And it's like, no,
God. Well, I also have a dreadful dilemma. As I said in the intro, I just got back from a trip. And I love family trips. I go on them every year with my parents, my brother and his wife, and then my husband and our kids. It's like a thing we do. We went to Virginia and then we drove to Washington, D.C. and did all that.
Oh, I didn't realize you did that.
I haven't posted any pictures, which is so unlike me. I have so many. I will eventually. I think it was just a lot going on. And maybe once I explain my dreadful dilemma, it'll make more sense. This is a brief list of some of the dreadful things that happened on my trip, okay? Winnie projectile vomited. I vomited. My brother vomited. Everyone else at least got nausea. Lila bruised up her side and her knee. Winnie bruised up her head, lip, and knee. We didn't get rooms next door as promised. Every activity in this remote location was upcharged. Even the pool towels at the water park had to be paid for.
Oh my God.
That's just some of the worst of it. Clearly, illness and injury were a big reason of why we had some dreadful moments. And I'm not going to give the place's name because there were beautiful things about the place that we stayed in Virginia, but it was almost like a money grabber, right? Like they got us out to this stunning remote location, acting like it was this big resort that had any and everything kid-friendly, family-friendly that you could ever want to do. But what they don't say is how damn expensive each and every little thing is. And a lot of it was closed. It's summertime. Like, what are we doing? Don't tell me you have an ice cream shop and the ice cream shop is closed and there's no ice cream for like 10,000 miles around.
Yeah, why would you do that?
I would never, but I don't want to only be doom and gloom. And I do want to tell the listeners just a few nice things about the trip, okay?
Okay.
I know, but I'm going to because I think we just need a little uplifting after that. So, as I told you before we recorded, Lila made a real-life pen pal that lives across the country that she's going to start writing to. How cute is that?
That's very sweet and cute, yeah.
There was also an activity where we all got to tie-dye t-shirts, which was amazing because I've wanted to do tie-dye with my kids, and they kind of did it for us, so we didn't even have to get our hands dirty, but we got to choose our colors and do the twists and put the rubber bands on, but they had to actually put it in whatever dye we told them. It was great.
It's like Korean barbecue where they just cook it for you and you're just like, that.
Exactly. And then the final thing, and I knew that you would appreciate this and our listeners, I got to see good old Abe Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
Chilling at the Abraham Lincoln Memorial. Okay, maybe it's just called the Lincoln Memorial. Okay.
Was he as buff as we think he might have been?
You know what, guys? He looked pretty fine. I'm not even going to lie. I mean, he's obviously a giant statue. I could look at him all day. I had no complaints.
Well, that's good. I'm glad after all these years, you still got it.
So, Trevin, are we going to do a round of trivia?
Let's go.
Whoa. No, Trevin, we do not have the rights to say that.
Let's have a fun time.
So my trivia today has to do with a historical figure.
Ooh.
Helen Keller.
Oh, nice.
So my trivia question is, which of these unlikely feats were accomplished by Helen Keller? Is it A, deep sea diving, B, designing her own home, or C, flying a plane?
Which one? Okay, I don't think she flew the plane. Okay, I think I'm going to go with she designed her own home.
And you are incorrect.
Damn! Which
That's
one was
actually
it?
the one I just came up with before we started.
You are out of your mind, really?
Really?
Well, you clearly did a great job.
The answer is C. She did fly a plane.
No way! Why isn't this talked about more?
Right, that's kind of what I thought. All That's Interesting had an article on this, and I thought it was super interesting. Maybe that's how they got their name.
Perhaps.
So it says, in 1919, Keller was involved in the making of a movie called Deliverance. Not the hillbilly creepy movie.
Okay, I was like, the horror film?
I don't even know why this is the name of it. It's a silent film about her life and remarkable capabilities. The producers wanted to, quote, show her doing all those things that abled people can do.
Oh my God.
So obviously, 1919, it's a problematic way to think.
Definitely. And also, we're not all out here flying planes.
No, and it says here, doing the things that able-bodied people can do. And the examples were from sleeping with eyes closed to getting dressed.
What? James.
I just don't see how that's the first, from sleeping with your eyes closed to getting dressed. If you look at a person who is deaf and blind, who's wearing clothes, I don't need a video to tell me that they can wear clothes.
Who's watching this film? Maybe that's why they had to do the plane thing. They had to spice it up a bit.
Well, yeah, and that's fine, but that's what they should have just started with and not been like, did you know that blind people sleep with their eyes closed?
It's like, we're just normal people, man.
Yeah, what? Okay. Because airplanes were an exciting new technology, producers also suggested that Helen Keller appear in a plane during the film. Though Keller found this unrealistic, she was eager to try flying. A newsreel promotion for the film explained that Keller was in the air for half an hour and that she declared that flying gave her, quote, more physical freedom than ever in her life.
Whoa.
And that wasn't the last time that Keller had the chance to fly. In 1931, she flew from Newark, New Jersey to Washington, D.C. to meet President Herbert Hoover.
What? So is she co-piloting? Like, she's not the one and only, right?
Right.
Okay. She's not a trained pilot. They're not just, sending her on her way just for the documentary's sake, right? My
Right.
God.
So I guess technically in those other two, she was co-piloting.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until 1946, she still co-piloted, but at one point they passed all of the controls over to her for about 20 minutes.
Whoa.
Again, as long as she just, keeps it straight and doesn't do anything, it's going to be okay probably. But still, pretty cool they did that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
They said the pilot relayed instructions to her translator, who explained what to do to Keller by pressing the symbols into her hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which that's also seems really difficult for me to understand because you're in a plane and it's like vibrating and stuff and somebody's pushing symbols into your hand.
I know. I just feel like there was a lot of risk involved. And it sounded like Helen was like, woohoo, let's try it out or whatever. And that's great. But the fact that she herself was even like, this is very unrealistic. Why put that much risk? I don't know.
Yeah, even she did it, but she still liked the thought of it.
Wow. Didn't think that was the one, Trevin. You little turd, you got me again. I also have a trivia question for you.
Yes.
Which of the following fruits are known for being naturally radioactive? Is it A, kiwis, B, pomegranates, or C, bananas?
I ain't never heard of a radioactive banana. I'm going to go A, kiwi.
And it is C, banana.
Well, damn. That means you and I both said the right answer out loud before getting it wrong.
I know.
You're like, it ain't the plane.
Wow. Are we off today? So let me tell you a little bit about this, Trevin.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I eat a banana every day.
I love bananas. My kids eat these bananas, okay? But I'm here to reassure you. According to the EPA, one banana can emit 0.01 milligram I guess that's just how you measure radiation, of radiation. However, let's put this into context so we can all sleep at night, okay?
Yeah.
This means you would need to eat about 100 bananas to receive the same amount of radiation exposure as you get each day living in the United States just from the natural radiation in the environment.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so us just living and chilling over here in the U.S. each day, still it would take 100 bananas to even achieve what we already experience with that, okay? So it's a very low amount, but bananas are known for their naturally high levels of potassium. For one, I believe it was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids that really taught me how important potassium and bananas are, because one of the kids is getting lightheaded or whatever, and they're like, he needs a banana or whatever the hell happens. But what they don't tell you is that a small fraction of all potassium is radioactive, it turns out.
Oh, wow.
It is not just bananas. Okay, there are other foods that have this naturally radioactive potassium, I guess, in it. But other foods with naturally occurring radiation are Brazil nuts, lima beans, carrots, potatoes, and red meats.
Oh, no, I have potatoes and red meats all the time.
You are just radioactive.
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 Ooh. Oh.
But did you know that at all?
I did not know that, no.
I didn't either. Granted, it's very, very small amounts, but when you hear, hey, there are actual foods that are just naturally radioactive, it kind of makes you want to know what they are and why.
I mean, it's still interesting to know, yeah.
But you're going to live. Keep eating those bananas, okay?
I definitely will.
Me too. So, you know what else I would want some more of? Ads!
Let's go.
Hello, Live, Laugh, Larceny. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We are the hosts of Like Mother, Like Murder.
We bring you the good, the badass, and the crime.
Each week, we bring you stories from missing and murdered
to survivors and women who empower you.
And of course, some mom talk sprinkled in.
Check us out wherever you get your podcasts at Like Mother, Like Murder.
And give us a follow on social media so that we can say hi.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
And we are back. It's my week, and I've got a story for you. A couple weeks ago, it was my sexy story.
I remember.
And I gave a slight warning on that. This week, I'm going to give a slight warning and say, I'm a little nasty boy.
Oh, my word.
Did I do that? So brace yourselves if you're eating on this one. If you're a person who's just like really dramatic when you're eating and hearing things, maybe.
Me?
Yeah, maybe be careful with
Okay.
this story. But other than that, let's get nasty.
I'm going to put my coffee down.
And here we go. Have you ever asked an authority figure for help, only to find that their effort did not come close to your level of concern? I can't think of anything more frustrating. Whether you're talking about a politician, boss, police officer, or parent, your sense of safety hinges on your belief that they can assist you. An employee takes comfort in knowing an HR department is available for them.
How may I help you?
An anxious concert goer takes a sigh of relief when seeing security everywhere they look. And we all sleep soundly, knowing that our government is always making decisions in our best interest. It can be a bit of an earth-shattering realization the moment you rely on one of these figures and their quality of help is not so helpful. If that anxious concert goer encounters their irrational fear of a bully beating them up in the pretzel line,
Give me your lunch money, dweeb.
they expect the security team will spring into action and stop the bullies from ruining their experience.
Not so fast, you meanie.
Unfortunately, there's no guarantee that a security guard would be present at this hypothetical moment. And even if they were, they would probably be too busy watching TikTok to even notice them getting their ass kicked.
My FYP really gets me.
You see, once that illusion of safety is destroyed by a lack of care or concern, it can leave you feeling helpless and like you have a new angle in which you need to protect yourself. Sometimes the appearance of these authority figures can be enough to stop people from doing bad things and keep good people feeling safe. But when you lose trust in that particular figure, it can change the way you view your life. After the summer of 2021, the HR department for my job sent out a work-from-home survey. At the time, we were all working from home and everything was going great. We had heard rumblings that the company wanted to pull us all in, but it was just a rumor at the time. The survey asked a couple different questions. Basically, it was, do you feel safe coming back to the office? And, do you feel that you work well from home? Finally, it felt like we were going to be heard. The results were unanimous. Everyone stated that they weren't ready to come into the office, and they did feel the same amount, or more, productivity at home. After announcing the results, HR acknowledged their findings and stated that we would all be required to come back into the office next week, with a brief sentence that they felt their efforts were enough. Since that gesture, the sense of trust between the workforce and the human resources department has been lost. It no longer felt like we had anyone on our side, and it has since caused the employees to find more reasons to feel unprotected from their employer.
Pizza parties can't fix betrayal.
Today's story will give you a front row seat to one person's loss of trust with their authority figure, and will show you just how damaging one lack of concern really can be. The sound of the clock ticking echoes down the long hallway as Heather Carpenter sits outside of her boss's office.
Hey, Heather,
The secretary called.
Allison will see you now.
As Heather stood to her feet, she gathered her composure and thought about all she was going to talk about.
You got this, bitch.
This was much more than just a friendly check-in with the boss. This was an official, professional concern. For the past few years, Heather had been a substitute teacher for the Philippi Shores Elementary School. Throughout that time, her and her boss, Principal Allison, had kept a great working relationship. Heather loved teaching the kids, and the job had been extremely fulfilling for her. However, a recent discovery had put a damper on Heather's enjoyment of substitute teaching. Earlier in the week, when cleaning up after class, she picked up a folded paper that said, "This teacher stinks." Normally, Heather would have chalked it up as kids being kids, but on that particular day, Heather actually wore a blouse that was left in the washer too long. And it did in fact stink. After filing a report with the principal, today was the day to hear her final decision on the matter.
So a kid said you stink on a day where you did stink?
Principal Allison asked, in a curious but confused way.
Yes,
Heather squeaked.
These kids are always telling lies about how they can dunk a basketball or how their mom can balance a ball on their nose.
But we always know deep down that they're little fucking liars.
For once, this kid was right. I did stink. What do you think that will do to my reputation? I need you to find the kid that said this and silence them.
Principal Allison leaned back in her chair, kicked her feet up, and responded calmly.
Look, I'll bring the TV around on the little rolly cart and show every class the anti-bullying video again, with an emphasis on commenting on people's smells. But I can't send a kid back to kindergarten for telling the truth. The punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Heather immediately got up and stormed out of the principal's office.
How can she ignore my needs like this? I thought she was here to help me. It's spelt Principal because I thought Allison was my pal.
Allison screamed inside her empty car. She lit up a cigarette from her secret pack that everyone knows she has, as she began to calm down. I know this doesn't really concern her, but she didn't seem to care about my side of things at all. I've never felt so betrayed my whole life. I must have my revenge. With her fake supervillain origin story set, Heather was alarmed by her back door opening up.
Hey, Mom, are you smoking again?
Heather's child asked, getting into the car. Heather rolled down her window and quickly threw her half-smoked Camel out of the car.
Honey, you know Mommy hasn't smoked since before you were born,
Heather inconspicuously said, as she drove the two of them home. For the whole drive, Heather went through a list of possibilities on how to get her revenge, but nothing felt big enough to truly match how shitty she felt seeing a kid call out her smelliness. It wasn't until she was helping her kid unpack their school bag that she found a sign from the god of pettiness themselves. As she pulled out the folded piece of construction paper, she read glitter-encrusted letters.
You're invited.
Come help us celebrate Susie Foster turning 6 with a little fun in the sun, Saturday afternoon at the picnic area in Urfer Park. Bring a change of clothes and a huge appetite for hot dogs. RSVP Principal Allison Foster if you can attend. Oh, how the picnic tables have turned, Heather said to herself, realizing the convenient twist that both her and Principal Allison's children are in the same class. I now know how I will get my revenge, Heather shouted, as she pulled out a 32-ounce bottle of organic prune juice and started chugging. Feeling the power of the prunes making its way to her gut, Heather pulled out her phone and DoorDashed $45 worth of Taco Bell. Revenge is on the menu tonight, she screamed to her daughter as she heated up some beans. The rest of the night was hell for Heather. Her stomach had become a jacuzzi of hot, bubbly guts, and just as she was about to fall asleep, she would find herself making an emergency run to relieve herself. It was quite possibly the most draining night of her life. She rolled over to look at her alarm clock. Revenge o'clock, she said to herself, as she gingerly sat up on her tired butthole to start her day. At 6:30 a.m., one could call the scene at Urfer Park the perfect scene. The weather was not too hot, there was a nice Gulf breeze, and the birds were singing their happy Sarasota tunes. But that was before Heather showed up. Heather's presence shifted the peaceful scene of tranquility into a sin-soaked pile of despair. As she exploded onto the picnic area, wearing rubber gloves and a face mask. Her hands were yielding a large fountain drink cup full of Dookie. And the award for shittiest birthday ever planned goes to Principal Allison, Heather announced to the outdoor area as she slowly poured a mixture of urine and doo-doo across a picnic table. Looks like I'm not the only person you'll be disappointing this week, Allison, she continued to yell as she smeared the vile mixture over the entire table. As she wiped the sweat from her forehead, she looked up to see the stone grills that Allison had reserved. The only hot dogs you're gonna get are poop dogs, Heather screamed to the grills as she dumped more of her custom concoction all over the public cooking devices. Plenty to go around, I'm a confident shitter. But little did Heather know, someone else was at Urfer Park that morning, and they saw her playing with shit. On December 1st, 2018, Sarasota substitute teacher Heather Carpenter was seen wearing a face mask and rubber gloves while pouring a mixture of poop and wee-wee on every picnic table and grill in Urfer Park. When I walked back over here to see what was going on, the smell hit me and I noticed that she did it on every table. Wiped it on every table. It was on the ground, yeah. It was a mixture of urine and feces, and she had it in a big cup and was just pouring it out and wiping it in, Mike Hutchinson, a witness, told Fox 13 News. When Heather was arrested, she confessed to spreading the diarrhea as an act of revenge towards her employer, Allison Foster, the principal of their school. According to the principal, she was assisting Heather with a professional complaint, and she was not pleased with how it was handled. When the principal's child invited everyone in class to their 6-year-old birthday party in the park, Heather's daughter also got an invite. Due to the porous material, the feces had soaked in, leading the park to replace all 7 picnic tables and 2 grills. The total cost of the items and labor was $2,300. 41-year-old Heather Carpenter was arrested and charged with 1 count of criminal mischief and 1 count of damaging property. The extent of her punishment was never made public. Wow, this was a shitty one. I don't know how someone's revenge escalates to smearing human waste all over a park, but sometimes you need to unload, and sometimes you take that load and pour it all over a public property. Getting back to the theme, it can be a very frustrating and painful feeling when an authority figure doesn't put as much care into something that affects you. For Heather, whatever her professional issue is, it felt like she wasn't given as much attention as she deserved. Of course, we don't know how legitimate it was, but that feeling of disappointment is enough for me to feel like Heather and I were cut from the same cloth. Or toilet paper, I suppose. We both hold our leaders to a high standard. We both have an eye for the dramatics. And we both believe that revenge is a dish best served in a large cup and poured all over a picnic pavilion.
Wow. So she did this before the party?
Yeah.
So none of the party guests were there or anything. She got caught by...
It was probably just
that
a
witness.
walker or something. Yeah. She knew where the party was going to be, and she was just going to dump shit on everything so that when they come to set up, they're just like, what in shit?
Yeah, like... So what was she trying... This one really makes my brain hurt.
I will say, I made it sound like she did make her own poop. I don't know. They said it is human waste, but not one article said that it was her human waste.
What in the actual flying fuck is going on?
Yeah, I thought the prune juice jokes and the hurt butthole joke was funnier.
Yeah.
I also considered maybe her robbing a porta potty.
Yeah, like what is this woman doing? Okay, and regardless of what the complaint was, which I'm assuming since it wasn't in the last little roundup that was like totally elaborated and whatever, I loved it.
Yeah, I have no idea what it was.
But regardless, this should have never happened.
I can't think of many problems in your life where this is the appropriate response.
Whew, and my question is then, was she never going to bring her daughter to that party?
Probably not. Or, if the party started at noon and the parents showed up at like 10 to set up, I guess either her hope was they would clean this shit up and have a horrible morning, or they would have to cancel the party.
Yeah, and then it's like, if you do come to the party, then you're just willingly sending your kid to a grill covered in feces.
True.
But if you don't, then you look guilty as shit.
Yeah.
Literally.
Guilty as shit.
So this is me obviously thinking a little bit logically about it.
Right.
But I just feel like even if she wasn't caught, which is super freaking embarrassing that she was, I don't know. I just think she was setting herself up for failure no matter what she did. Because this is just too weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess your hope is that you ruin the birthday and never get caught. But like, now that you are caught, whether you made the doo-doo or not, you're the poo-poo queen.
You are the poo-poo cup queen for the rest of your life. How does that make you feel, Heather?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you don't work for that school anymore, but...
No, and she was a substitute teacher, too. It's like, slow your roll, okay, Heather? I'm not saying substitute teachers should not be heard. All teachers should be heard. But let's chill out a minute, okay? You're not even a permanent teacher here, and you're making demands and getting so upset that they're not getting met. That you're doing this?
Yeah, the good thing about being a substitute is you should have other schools that you can go to substitute, unless
word travels fast.
Turd travels fast. Oh, we just named this episode.
That one really caught me off guard. I just didn't see it coming. I know I did that one story about the rivalry with the dog turds.
Yeah.
This is on another level.
Yeah.
I thought that one was awful. Whew. Well, I also have a story, Trevin.
I'm ready for it.
It is a story from the news as well. And it is a crime that I had to specifically hunt for. I wanted a specific type of crime, and I am so beyond thrilled with what I found. And this one is actually really, really recent, too.
Ooh, I love that.
I haven't done a recent one in quite some time, so I'm excited. And here we go. The petty crimes divulged on this show have featured a couple of disastrous passengers traveling by plane. From Trevin's story of an entitled white man being restrained to his aircraft seat, to my recent tale of the heartbroken singer being kicked off her flight. Both prove that liftoff can sometimes lead to lockup. Although there is an underbelly to these crimes we have yet to discuss. The birthplace for all flight-related nightmares and hub for unescapable doom. Airport security. This awful environment is often surrounded by lackluster gray walls and packed to the brim with flustered people. It smells of fear and feet, as most who enter are asked to remove their shoes. And the only background music is the sound of beeping from intrusive machinery. So have your identification at the ready and remove all weapons from your pockets as we journey through the terrifying tunnels of the TSA. It was a humid start to a summer morning in July of 2023 at the Miami International Airport. Long lines of anxious travelers had already begun to form, filled with cocky businessmen, stressed-out matriarchs,
Get your ass back here.
and young adventurers looking for deeper meaning.
I told you I'm not coming home. I'm going to be a Tibetan monk.
The crowd was a curious mix of people, with equally diverse contents inside their luggage. Contents that would soon be sorted and placed into hard plastic tubs for inspection. Stationed and ready at Security Checkpoint E was the self-proclaimed TSO Trio, including 20-year-old Josu, 22-year-old Elizabeth, and 33-year-old Liberius. The small crew worked well together, regardless of all of the flirting between Josu and Elizabeth. It was innocent enough, as Josu was afraid of commitment, and Elizabeth hated commitment phobes. Plus, Liberius was a great third-wheel buffer to have around, in order to keep the atmosphere anti-sexy.
You two would really like Dungeons and Dragons.
Not only did the trio find a solid rhythm navigating their jobs together, but they also had a very successful side hustle they all worked on: distracting and robbing the passengers in line. Elizabeth stood beside the conveyor belts, shouting out security instructions and sizing up the future targets.
We got a Rolex over here.
Josu guided individuals through metal detectors and was a master of distraction and flattery.
Right this way, you beautiful goddess.
Ending out the line was Liberius, in charge of deeper searches on suspicious items and people. All the while keeping a keen eye and sticky fingers for thieving. Elizabeth used code words for pricey electronics and thick wallets given up for examination.
Rupee balls.
And Josu worked his charm on even the most tightly wound Voyagers.
Have the trip of your life.
This allowed Liberius to steal as much as possible to split amongst themselves. Today was no exception, as the trio's side hustle was working in full force. Elizabeth had spotted a fat wallet and had alerted the boys,
Testicles.
allowing Josu to start a conversation with the older gentleman it belonged to.
Excuse me, sir. Are you a male model?
When Liberius reached the bloated leather-bound wallet, he reached in to find $600 in cash. The day continued to be a fruitful one for the trio, as Elizabeth pointed out designer bags, and the boys emptied them out. They scanned, stole, frisked, and frauded until the end of their busy shifts. Just as the coworkers were almost to the airport exit, where they would ultimately split out the stolen goods and high-five, they heard their boss approaching from behind.
You three, my office, now!
On July 6th of 2023, 3 transportation security officers at the Miami International Airport were arrested for stealing from their passengers. Originally stationed at Security Checkpoint E, 20-year-old Josu Gonzalez, 22-year-old Elizabeth Fuster, and 33-year-old Liberius Williams were all charged with organized scheme to defraud. Arrests were made after receiving multiple reports of theft from the same checkpoint and reviewing the surveillance footage. On the tapes, the trio worked together during routine TSA screenings, with someone distracting passengers, allowing the others to browse for cash or valuables. In one instance, the TSOs were able to steal $600 from a single passenger's wallet. After the arrests, each were required to complete a formal interview at the TSA Command Center. According to reports, Josu and Elizabeth waived their rights and provided written confessions to the crimes, while Liberius decided not to waive his rights and provided no communication. During this interview, it was admitted by Josu and Elizabeth that the trio made an average of $1,000 a day stealing from their airport passengers. The TSA released a statement reassuring the public, stating, "The Transportation Security Administration holds its transportation security officers to the highest professional and ethical standards and has no tolerance for misconduct in the workplace." Just when you think that the airport can't get any more frightening, it does. The next time you're worried about forgetting to pack something, or the possibility of receiving a deep cavity search for looking worried, stay focused. Because although security is there to keep an eye on any suspicious travelers, who's keeping a watchful eye on them?
Who watches the watchman? You know what I mean?
Exactly, my dude. Did you hear about this story at all?
No.
So, obviously, I was inspired by my recent flight travels, but I didn't want to do another plane situation. I wanted to find a bizarre, weird TSA situation. In my mind, when I was looking for a crime, obviously, it wasn't going to be this way. I thought it was going to be a weird arrest that was made because someone brought something absurd in their suitcase or something.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw this, I was like, okay, the TSA is stealing from people? I gotta do this.
Yeah, that's insane. I'm a paranoid person, but I wouldn't have even thought to have looked at them and been scared of that.
No, not at all. It's been on a lot of big articles, but I only heard about it because I was specifically looking for TSA crimes. But yeah, found that gem and was like, whew, it just sounded fun to me. A trio of TSA agents working together to commit crime.
You know, I was going to save this and talk about this when we were done recording, but you had pointed out that when you wrote this one, you didn't have any speaking parts in it.
Yeah.
The only speaking part you had was the boss or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was your vision or your way of thinking it, or you just forgot to write lines.
Yeah.
But you have these three criminals, and it almost kind of feels like you didn't give them a voice because you didn't give them enough individuality or character, because they're just almost three faceless thugs, really, who are just doing something bad. A lot of our other stories, we really focus on the character building, and you didn't really build their characters because really their character didn't matter at all.
Yeah. And honestly, this is kind of soapboxy, but the more I was looking through all this, the more I realized just how little qualifications and little amounts of money you make as a TSA officer, or a TSO is what they're called. But when you see these people in the airport, right, you see them and they're in these uniforms and they are in charge. And I guess both of our stories, if we're going to jump to connections, both had authority
Well,
issues.
I was going to go one further and say security.
There you go. Yes. But when you see these guys, you think, oh my God, they're in charge. I got to act right. You know, they're like these professional people, which I'm sure majority of them are. But when you really look at it, you really don't have to have like a gigantic list of qualifications to get the job. And then when you do get the job, you're not even really reimbursed and you have to deal with cranky people all day. I'm not saying that what they did was right.
Right.
I would be so devastated if I was stolen from when I was trying to travel somewhere or travel home.
If you were frisked and frauded.
Yes, I would be pissed. But I am also saying that I can see why this would happen, okay? Like if you're giving people a position of power, but then you're not even really like...
compensating.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. But I was still shocked to see that this was a real thing. And they had been doing it for a while and they had been working this checkpoint E. It blew my mind.
Yeah, it seems like a grumpy job to have. I would always think TSA or license office.
Oh, yes.
DMV.
DMV worker, yeah.
And so if you put them in a position like that and give them some power, I could see them finding a way to make their job worth their while.
Exactly. So I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying it's very wrong, actually, okay? But I am saying I see how these things happen.
If people aren't compensated properly for the job they do and the environment they have to deal with, they're not going to be very loyal to you.
That's what I'm saying. Whew. Not saying it was good, but I can see it. Yeah, I would be really upset if you brought a bunch of cash on a trip and then it was gone.
Yeah.
And then how do you prove it? I mean, really, it didn't even say in these articles how long these thefts were going on for even. I don't even know. I tried to find that because I was just curious, but they knew their average, like, yeah, we make about $1,000 a day, you know. It's like, how long have they been doing that?
If I did that, I would work probably about 10 days and stop doing that.
Seriously, it's wild and it's very recent. Like I was saying, this happened in July of this year is when it was discovered.
Man, yeah, and that's just the worst time to get people. You know, that's a quick way to give somebody the worst vacation of their life.
I know. Didn't I already list off enough things that could go wrong on vacation?
Yeah,
Like,
what if you need a beach towel and you realize you don't have any money?
yes, exactly. What if you gotta buy every damn thing? How are you gonna do it without your cash money?
You'll have to just roll around in the sand, hope that dries you off.
So connections, we already went there.
Yeah.
Security, authority.
People doing a poor job with their authority.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, we both definitely mentioned security officers. So.
I know. How weird.
It's so funny because there, right before you were finishing your story, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, I don't think we have a good connection. And then I was thinking, well, what's my first conversation starter going to be? And I thought, well, that's a terrible thing for a security officer. I was like, wait, security?
Yeah, dude.
So,
yeah, no, seriously.
Right,
you know what? We needed this though, because I feel like it's been quite a few episodes where we've been able to grasp onto a strong connection. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we did that last week, but on the top of my head, I feel like we've been struggling with this lately.
I feel like we have been struggling lately.
So glad that worked out. And I'm just glad to be back home, Trevin. And we're just going to keep pushing out new content. And I know we've mentioned the merch, right? I know we've mentioned it, but guys, it's here. Okay.
We're both wearing it right now.
It is here. I'm wearing my Live, Laugh, Larceny that was designed by a listener. Love this shirt. I know that right now, as we're recording, it's not live, but I guarantee by the time this one comes out, it will be.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really trying to get that up and moving. I know we've been talking about it forever, and I just can't wait for you guys to see it. We have so many cute things.
Yes, more options than last time for sure.
So many more options. So fun, and we're supporting somebody local, so I just love it all, and I can't wait for everyone to get them.
Yes, and one more thing. If you like this show, tell everybody, because I am making some big pushes and doing a lot of things to try to get our name out. And I'm thinking by the end of this year, we can take over the world. So if you guys, tell some friends, make some shares, do whatever you got to do. I need your help. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, my stories are getting a lot more in depth with the music changes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to make more stories for you guys.
Yes.
And that just means I don't want to have a 9 to 5.
I know.
But it's not about the money, but I just want to, get the word out.
I know. Our listenership is very important to us and we love our core group. But if every one of you listening would just tell just one other person, one other person is all you need to do. That is everyone's goal for the week. Someone you think, oh, they have a fun sense of humor. They like poop jokes. They're not going to get offended by Trevin and Amanda being the weirdos that they are. Then send them to our show. We are really trying to grow it, guys. Come on now. Help us out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who love comedy who don't quite see that we are a comedy show first and not a true crime show. And I think it turns people off. And it's like, oh, I'm not trying to just have my true crime people out there.
We love you all.
Yeah.
I'm one of you. But yeah, like anyone that you think could get a kick out of it, that's just all we ask.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone is out there just having the best week possible, okay? And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to dump our doo-doo on picnic tables.
Bye.
See ya.
Shout out to all the fellow movie lovers out there, and let us know if you've seen Barbie, Oppenheimer, or Elemental. And thank you all for listening to our show.
And if you have any more crazy poop stories, follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or Threads.
And if you have ever gotten in trouble for having anything scandalous in your travel bags by the TSA, you bet we want to hear about it. So send us your petty crime stories. livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And rate us the same you would rate a radioactive banana. 5 stars, and I'm still buzzing. Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods. These kids are always telling lies about how they can dunk a basketball or how their mom can balance a ball on their nose. But we all...
I'm so sorry. That got me so just thinking about that the other day. And I was like, I really need to work on that.